Hi, it's Mark from Our Museum of Us. This is the chapter about quilts, and I don't know about you, but I think that of all of the things that we have or own or make or create, I think that quilts are probably the coolest Museum of Us artifact that there is, period. I think writing books about your family history is a close second. It's a lot of fun, very gratifying to do, and I think it's a way of passing on, pun intended, the fabric of your life in a story. But to actually pass along the fabric is something special. So in the book, I described what our father's mother, we call her Mama, did for her 26 grandchildren. She made to each one of us an Afghan and a quilt in her lifetime. She lived to be 99. And so we all received this fabric, this material that was handmade by Mama. And I don't have words to describe how special that is, other than to say that's remarkably special. So what I wanted to show you was this is the Afghan she made for me. I've had it for a good 40 something years and still use it and cherish it because of the attention. I mean, I don't know how to make an Afghan, but you can just see it takes an incredible amount of work and patience and dedication to do this. And she did this for all of us, all of the grandkids. It's just, what a legacy of, I care about you, I want you to be warm, I want to give you something that's personal for you. And she literally put it together with her own hands. So I have Mama with me today in what she presented to me and to the rest of us, period. So I think that's a really cool gift, and it really stuck with me by quite a bit. Another thing she made for me was a quilt, and I've kind of left it wrapped up on purpose because I did a whole nother chapter about what happens when our things are not safe, and specifically it was about quilts. So first of all, this is the quilt that Mama made for me. I've had it for, again, 40 years. I mean, through family life and marriage and with the children and etc. This has been my quilt, and so I am so proud of it, and I'm proud of what Mama did in terms of modeling for us, passing along her own handiwork, her own design, her own artwork, and her own labor to us and to me, since this is my museum of me. Telling the story about it makes it something that, whether my children receive the quilt or not, I hope they do, they can say this is the quilt that Dad had from Mama, period. The second point I want to make is that I love using the quilt. In this case, I have protected it just for a time because we're still just getting done with summer, and so I really don't need it, but I'm doing what I can do to protect it, and you know more than I do about protecting a quilt. But the point that I wanted to make in the chapter about when our museums are not safe is that the people that I've interviewed, I've heard this more than once, is that they take stuff that would be in their attic or garage or closet or basement, and they say, oh, what if our house burns down? And so in the chapter, when our museums are not safe, I made the point that even though you put it in a storage unit, they have insurance, they have fire protection programs, and etc. But in fact, my research shows that fire or storage units also catch on fire from time to time. So I don't think there is an ultimate safe place for our things other than perhaps a vault, which is not practical. So my suggestion is tell the story of the quilt, do it through digital storytelling, and then heaven forbid if you lose it, at least you've got the story and you've got what I've just done here. And of course, as you know by now, that's sort of my encouragement throughout this whole book, is to tell your digital story and tell the story of the quilt in this digital format. So at least you'll have that. And again, I want to emphasize it's very, very rare for things to catch on fire, to be lost, but unfortunately it does happen. So just be there and be ready for that, etc. And wait, there's more. The legacy that our Mama left by making those quilts has had a lasting impact on me. And as I have became a parent and enjoyed the children as they've grown up, our children are adults now, I sometimes wonder what could I do for my children? Past a certain age, you help support them logistically and financially and emotionally and all that. But there's a point at which I find myself saying, well, what else can I do for them? And it's a challenging question, other than lots of love, lots of ongoing unconditional support, and I'm sure that there's a lot more that I could learn about that. But I did remember Mama's quilt in Afghan. So last year I worked with two ladies and had two quilts made for our two children. I got to design them. Actually, the design came from our daughter. It was a beautiful design for an image. And then I worked with these two ladies that are professional quilters to get it exactly what I hoped for. And I worked with our Aunt Robbie to pick the colors and etc. But long story short, I spent about 3 or 4 months making two quilts for our children and then gave them to them for Christmas presents. Now, I don't know what to do with that story other than just to tell you that as a dad unit, I was pleased that I could do that for my children, and I know that it was not an original idea. Every bit of that idea came from Mama and what she had done for me and us, her grandchildren and her great-grandchildren. So I don't think I'm going to say this well the first time, but from our Museum of Us standpoint, I think quilts are probably the coolest of all things, of all artifacts, of all me to you legacies, period. And I found in my own experience, because our Mama had done that for us and me, I found that it had created the desire for me to pass along that legacy, that value to my children. And now that I've done it, I'm a pretty happy guy. I hope they enjoy the quilts. I hope that, it stays with them as long as Mama's quilts have stayed with me. But whether it does or not, I feel like the real value for me was to say that there are multiple ways to show that we care and love, but this is one way. And quilt making itself is such a science and art. And more importantly, it's just a way of a parent communicating love and caring and comfort and a desire for a warm, safe bed with something that's personal to that child. And that's what I hope the quilts do. But more importantly, I just hope that, just like Mama did for us, I hope that it communicates my love for my children. So go make a quilt. You'll be so happy, and your offspring will be so happy as well. And protect them as much as you can, and make digital stories like this one about the quilt and about what you put into it. So good luck with quilting.